we will be looking at pointer to functions today. Pointer to functions. In our case, in the standardized test that we did, let's say we have the add function, we had the minus function, and we had the product. All right, and we can have several functions, right? And they all took integer, two parameters, right? It adds two numbers, it minuses two numbers, subtracts two numbers, and it multiplies two numbers. Okay, this is very simple. And obviously these are memory locations of, right? And so we could pointers, a pointer to either this function or pointer to this function. We could even point to this function. All right, and once you point to this function, you can execute these functions much similar to the way you call them. Let's say this is the pointer. Okay, so you just have to say pointer equal to add, and pointer will execute the function. This is the second step. This is the third step. This is called assigning a function to a pointer. This is calling a pointer function. But what is the first step? First step is to define this pointer. How do we define it? Define a pointer. This is key, all right? Now, the way you define a pointer function to a function is, let's say I'm defining this pointer to a function that takes two parameters. Okay, that's the way you need to do. This is a pointer function that takes two parameters. Basically, the pointer and the function parameters have to match. So we are matching it, right? And what is the return type? Some of you defined the return type of this function as void. This is also a void, which is fine. The way you define it, it doesn't matter. So we need to define the pointer also I'll show you. There's one more small step remaining here, which is the key to defining functions. Pointer to functions. I'm making that as red. This is the key. That's it. The way you read this particular definition is pointer is a pointer to function. All right, pointer to function ptr. Okay, ptr is a function pointer to a function okay, that takes two parameters, in this case two integers, pointed to a function that takes two parameters, okay, 1 and 2. All right, 1 and 2, they have to match. And return the pointer, the function takes two parameters and returns void. So basically the initial definition, initial part of the statement is a pointer to a function, right? Pointer is a pointer to a function, which is the key, right? And what does the function do? It takes two parameters and returns void. Returns void, right? So this definition is very key, all right? You have to have the parenthesis around the pointer definition, okay? So let's revisit the whole thing and we'll take all these steps one at a time, right? Okay, the first step is to define the pointer to a function. The second step is to assign the function to that same pointer and calling the pointer. I will show you this with examples, all right? Okay, now let's take one at a time. So we have, to define a pointer to a function, defining a pointer to a function is the key, which is the first step, right? We need to define it. The way you do that is, let's say our add function, like we talked, is an integer. It takes two parameters, returns void. That's what some of you defined, which is okay. We don't care about that. Or if you have to have a function, let's say we define this way too. Let's say minus okay. So the two functions, one returns void, the other returns integer. Okay. Now let's define a pointer to a function add. Okay. The way you define that is, it should be identical to the definition of the function. Okay. So it is void. The function returns void. In this case, it's true. The function takes two parameters to match. Now we need to define the pointer. Okay, that is the key. So for that we need to put two parentheses. All right, a pointer always has this asterisk and pointer. Now this is the definition. Just like you have integer pointer, right? You have a char pointer. So this definition is a pointer to a function that function takes two parameters, which is matches here, and that function returns void, which is matches here. All right. So that is the first definition. And you might ask me, why do I need this parenthesis? Can I eliminate that parenthesis? What really happens is, if you do that, this is wrong, this is right. The reason, if we remove the parenthesis, what really happens is, now the meaning is completely different. The meaning is pointer, which is a PTR, is a function. It changes the meaning. Is a function. Is it a function? We don't have a function like that. It's a function that takes two parameters, int and int, and returns. It's a function returns void pointer. Is that what we had in mind? Void pointers. Is that what we had in mind? Our add function doesn't return pointer. There is no function called ptr. So that is why this is wrong. And if you put the parenthesis, now it says ptr is a pointer to a function that takes two arguments and returns void. So this is correct. Okay. Alright, so now we know what the correct definition of a pointer. So we'll erase all these guys. Alright, we don't need any of it. So we have the definition, we got the definition, right? Next is to assign this pointer to which function. We have add, we have minus, we have different functions. So if you want, you can assign this pointer to this by simply saying pointer to add. That means now the pointer is pointing to the function add. Okay, this is the assignment. Very simple. It's a very simple way of doing things. Assignment. Okay, very simple. The third thing is, of course, call that function, call or execute. The way we do that is, for add function, what do? Add 4, 3, right? Whatever that is, or operand 1 and operand 2, right? Now you simply say the same way, pointer 4, 3. When you do that, pointer, wherever it's pointing to, in this case add, it takes parameters 4, 3 and it executes. Very similar to the way you do things. Alright? Very simple. Now we will pretend we have the minus function that also takes two parameters, but this one returns integer. Okay, so the way you define pointer to this function is very identical. The return type should match here and the parameters should match. Let's write it down, int comma int. Alright, now we have the pointer definition. Let's say minus ptr. So now what is mptr? mptr is a pointer, to a function, What is the name of the function? We don't know that right now because we are not assigned to anybody. Which takes what? The function takes, which takes two parameters, in this case two integers, because we are just defining a type, right? Defining it, and returns, the function returns integer, that's all it is. Now if you want to say minus, the way you call, say 8, 4, and you can simply do assignment of mptr equal to minus. Very simple. Okay, assignment statement, right? Assignment. This is definition. Okay, if you follow these 3 steps, you should be okay. All right, now call, right? The third step is to call. The way you call is mptr identical to 8, 4. All right. So we saw how to define a pointer to a function, and we saw why these parentheses are important around the definition, and we saw how to assign a pointer function to a function, and we know how to call. Okay, so in the next video we will take example and try to compile and run it. Okay.